Hey there, it's Leslie at Leslie's Cookies and Treats, and this is the last bow in a 6-bow series. And for this bow, I am going to try applying some edible lace to the tails and the bow that's in the background. Now, I've never used edible lace before, and I went ahead and bought some off of Amazon. I'll leave the link in the description. It's a really pretty lace. It's thicker than I thought it would be. But anyway, I cut off a piece here, and according to the directions, you're supposed to apply it with a little bit of water. I'm just using the blade at the end of my scribe to cut around the edges of my design on the cookie so that I can get the lace exactly where I want it. The lace is a little bit stiffer than I expected, and it's also a little bit thicker than I was thinking it would be. And I really wanted to cover all the edges of the cookie so that it looks like it's complete and not just sitting on top. So I'm going to take a little bit of water here and just paint it on the back of this piece of edible lace and stick it down to the cookie and see how it works. And as I mentioned, I really want it to kind of fold over so it's covering the entire area of royal icing, and it's not really staying down too well. As I said, this edible lace is pretty stiff. The directions did say that you could hold it over a pot of steaming water and it would be more pliable. So I might have to boil some water and see what happens if I do that, because I'm having to hold it down for quite a long time to get it to stay stuck around the sides. But if I hold it long enough and get it wet enough, it is staying adhered to the side edges like I wanted it to. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the piece on the other side. But this time I actually added a layer of water directly on top of the royal icing as well, hoping that it would stick better. And I got out my scissors and I'm kind of using that to also trim the edges. I've applied the edible lace to all of the pieces of the back part of the bow, and now I'm going to take my red royal icing in a 15-second consistency and outline and flood in the red part of the bow that I want to have in the forefront. And I'll use my scribe to settle the icing down. And I do have to say that off camera, I did boil a pot of water and hold my cookie over the top of that while it was steaming to get this lace to be a bit more flexible. And that really did kind of help a lot. But one other thing I have learned from using this lace is that you need to wait for it to completely dry before you move on to flooding the next part of your cookie. I did not wait for the lace to dry before flooding the red part, and I did get quite a lot of bleeding of the red icing into the lace. So I don't know if it would be easier to work with sugar veil and get a mold and make your own edible lace. I'll have to try that in the future. I don't use edible lace very often. As I said, this is my first time. So I wanted to just buy the pre-made stuff and not invest a lot of money in it. I decided I wanted to make a transfer to go on the center of this bow, so I'm going to cut out a rose from the center of this lace, and I have a cookie bag here that I'm just going to pipe a bit of icing on top of in the shape of this rose, and then put the rose on top. And I've taped my cellophane bag down to a silicone mat. I wanted you to be able to see better what I was doing, so I put a green mat in the background. And I'm just going to kind of make a blob of royal icing here that's in the shape of this rose that I cut out of the edible lace. And then I'm going to stick the edible lace right on top and let this dry completely. And once it's dried completely, probably at least 8 hours, I'll take it off of the cellophane bag and I'll use a little dab of royal icing on the back to attach it to the center of my bow. And then I decided to go ahead and give this bow a little bit of glitter too, so I'm using some edible glitter and I'm just going to spray it all over the cookie. I think this actually came out pretty cute. I'm a little bit unhappy with the color bleed into the lace, so definitely don't work with the cookie while the lace is still wet. And in a further effort to try to hide the color bleed, I decided to outline the red part of the bow, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to touch down and lift my bag up slightly from the cookie and then draw a line across, going all the way around the edges of the bow, and then also I'll put some creases in the center. And I was using the paintbrush to move my line a little bit because I did not like exactly where I had put it down. So you can take a dampened paintbrush, wipe off most, if not all of the water, and then lightly push your line of royal icing to get it exactly where you want it to go. And one last thing about the edible lace, the taste. As far as taste goes, I couldn't really tell that it tasted any different than just the cookie. There was no texture and it tasted great. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. If I play with edible lace some more, I'll let you know.